guys, welcome to my channel among.stouts. If you are new here, my name is Samantha. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom of 4 kiddos, and in today's video I'm bringing to you guys the first 10 books that I am planning to read this new year, 2022. I made a goal for myself this year to start and finish a minimum of 10 books, and I know that I could definitely read more than 10 books. But the issue that I ran into in 2021 is that I was starting lots and lots of books and then just starting and never really getting to finishing a lot of those books. So while I started lots of books, I didn't finish some of them. Some of them took me way too long to finish, and so I just wanted to have a list of 10 books that I know that I really want to read and get those books finished. So this is one of those attainable goals for me that I feel like I can definitely accomplish this year, and which is always nice to be able to check something off on your list. So I have these 10 books that I'm going to read. Half of them are physical copies of books and the other half are on Audible. And once I get through this list of 10, then I'm going to allow myself to start other books with the hopes of also finishing those as well. I have actually recently, I think in the last week and a half, finished 2 books. One I started and finished in a couple days because it's on Audible. And then another one I started last year and then I just never got around to finishing it. So the first book that I started and finished, I think it was last week or something like that, was Blackout by Candace Owens, which is a really good book. And then I also finished Triggers, which is... it has a longer title than that. I'll link it in the description. You're supposed to read it over the course of 31 days. I started off strong, but then as I was doing Bible studies and homeschooling and reading and listening to other books, I just kind of fell off of the 31-day part of it, and I would get to it when I could. And so I devoted the time and I just completely finished that book in the last week and a half, 2 weeks as well. So those are 2 books that I can knock off and scratch off that I've read. And then now that we are in the new year, I'm going to get into reading these other books that I have that I'm super excited about, and I'm super excited to share these with you. So many of these I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of, but if not, I will read the back so that you guys can at least get an idea of what these books are about in case you're interested. So that can be kind of time consuming, so let's go ahead and get into these books. So the first book on my list that I plan on reading, I did share with you, if you guys saw my Christmas, what I got for Christmas video, then you saw these first 2 books on there, and I said these were going to be the first 2 books that I read in 2022. And so I'm starting off with Humble Roots, and this is Humble Roots, How Humility Grounds and Nourishes Your Soul by Hannah Anderson. And it says on the back, feeling worn thin, come find rest. Nestled in the simple rhythms of rural life, taking cues from forsythia, milkweed, and wild blackberries, Hannah Anderson meditates on the pursuit of peace and its natural companion, humility. Part theology of incarnation, part stroll through fields and forests, Humble Roots reveals how cultivating humility, not scheduling or increased productivity, leads to true peace. By remembering who you are and who you aren't, you can discover afresh your need for God and the rest that comes from belonging to Him. So come, consider the lilies of the field and learn humility from Christ Himself. So that's Humble Roots. And then I have In His Image by Wilkin, 10 Ways God Calls Us to Reflect His Character. And this says, sometimes we ask, what is God's will for my life? When we should really be asking, who should I be? The Bible has an answer. Be like the very image of God. By exploring 10 characteristics of who God is: holy, loving, just, good, merciful, gracious, faithful, patient, truthful, and wise. This book helps us understand who God intends for us to be. Through Christ, a perfect reflection of the image of God, we will discover how God's own attributes impact how we live, leading to freedom and purpose as we follow His will and are conformed to His image. So that's In His Image. And then I have Parenting Beyond the Rules by Connie, Albers, Raising Teens with Confidence and Joy. That's what this book looks like. It says, create a rich relationship with your teen. I don't have teens quite yet, but my oldest is on his way there. He just turned 12 this past November. So I'm trying to gear myself and get ready for that. But this one says, parenting a teen can be exasperating. It's an immense privilege and a daunting responsibility to prepare a child for adulthood. Your masterpiece in the making craves independence while desperately and sometimes secretly needing you to guide his or her unique strengths, talents, and personality. Many parents only offer rules that may have worked better at younger ages. Now more than ever, your teen needs your time, heart, conversations, and love. In Parenting Beyond the Rules, discover how to paint a canvas that will be enjoyed over a lifetime. A relationship with your unique and wonderful teen. Are you ready to pick up your brush with confidence? So that's Parenting Beyond the Rules. And then I have Mama Bear Apologetics. I have read the original Mama Bear Apologetics. That book is really good. So if you guys haven't read that, highly recommend that one. But this is the second book, and this one is the Guide to Sexuality, Empowering Your Kids to Understand and Live Out God's Design. So that's what that looks like. And this one says, raise them to value God's design. Starting at a young age, kids are being fed damaging misinformation about sexuality, gender identity, and human biology. As a parent, it's up to you to help your children understand God's truth about these integral concepts in the face of the candy-coated lies that saturate today's world. In the footsteps of the best-selling Mama Bear Apologetics comes the invaluable guide to training your kids to know and respect God's design in a world that has rejected it. This book will help equip you to understand God's design for gender, sex, marriage, and family as a beautiful portrait that reveals the nature of God Himself. Identify the tactics being used to trick children into adopting an unbiblical view of sexuality under the guise of Christian-sounding words like love, identity, tolerance, and justice. Teach your kids to treat those who hold different beliefs with gentle, Christ-like compassion without compromising biblical values. As society continues to blur the lines of what's good, true, and acceptable, God's standards remain clear and unchanging. This book will give you the wisdom to confidently raise your children to understand sex and gender through a biblical lens. So I'm really excited to read this book as well. And I mean, obviously, I'm excited for these books. That's why I picked them. And then the last book that I have, the physical copy is, I can't wait to read this one. I had actually pre-ordered this book, and then I was scared that I wasn't going to get it because I forgot that I pre-ordered it and it got shipped to our old house. But those buyers were really kind to reach out to their agent, who reached out to our agent and told us that they would put it out on the porch so that I could pick it up. So that was really nice. And so this is by Kaylee McEnany. For such a time as this, my faith journey through the White House and beyond. That's what that looks like. And this says, Kaylee McEnany describes her path to the White House podium, bringing the reader behind the scenes in the world's most powerful building and illuminating how faith got her through. If you would have told me that in the year 2020, I would stand in the White House podium and communicate with the American people as COVID-19 ravaged the globe and violent protests beset the nation, I would have told you that you were crazy. But Jesus Christ had this very plan for my life. From White House intern to White House press secretary, from production assistant to national television host, from Catholic all-girls high school to Harvard Law School, God has guided my path through uncharted territory. And for such a time as this, I will chronicle my journey to the White House and offer never before told anecdotes of what really happened within the Trump administration. You will experience some of the most high-stakes moments in the West Wing right alongside me as I reveal how faith got me through. So I'm excited to read all about her experiences. So like I said, those are all of the books that I have physical. So let me go ahead and show you guys on Audible the books that I have. So the first one that I'm going to listen to on Audible is Fault Lines, and this book is by Vodi Bakum. I've heard really good things about this book, and I actually had it on Audible for a really long time. I think I may have gotten it last April or something like that, and I just haven't listened to it, and so that's why I put it on my list. For some of these, the books are new to me. For others, I've had them for a while, and I just have never gotten to them, so I really want to get to them. And so If you haven't heard of this book, it's Fault Lines, the Social Justice Movement and Evangelicalism's Looming Catastrophe. And then if there were a back of the book, I have the summary here on my phone, so I'll just read that to you guys. Let's see, this one says, "We are standing on shaky ground as a wave of violent riots protesting the death of a black man at the hands of police shook the nation. In the summer of 2020, most Americans were shocked. Christians nationwide, eager to fill their God-given calling to bring peace and reconciliation, took the pulpits and social media in droves to affirm that Black Lives Matter and proclaim that racial justice is a gospel issue. But what if those Christians, those ministers, and those powerful ministries don't know the whole story behind the new movement that's been making waves in their congregations? Even worse, what if they've been duped into adopting a set of ideas that not only don't align with the kingdom of God, but stand to diametrically oppose it?" In this powerful audiobook, pastor, professor, and leading cultural apologist Voddie Baucham explains the sinister worldview behind the social justice movement and how it has quietly spread like a fault system, not only through our culture, but throughout the evangelical church in America. He also details the devastation it is already wrecking and what we can do to get back on solid ground before it's too late. Whether you're a layperson who feels like you've just woken up in a strange new world and wonder how to engage both sensitively and effectively in the conversation on race, or a pastor who's wondering how to deal with increasingly polarized factions within your congregation, this audiobook will provide the clarity and understanding you need to either hold your ground or reclaim it. So I've actually listened to several teachings and sermons of Voddie Baucham that he's done in years past. I've listened to him on different podcasts that I listen to, and I've really been moved by the things that he has to say. And so I'm excited to read this book just to hear more of his wisdom and things like that. Okay, so the next book that I have is The Doctrine of Election, and this book is by A.W. Pink. And so this is what that book looks like on Audible as well. Okay, so this book says in the summary, "The grand truth of election takes us back to the beginning of all things. It predated the entrance of sin into the world, the fall of man, the incarnation of Christ, and the proclamation of the gospel. A correct understanding of it, especially in its relation to the everlasting covenant, is absolutely essential if we are to be kept from fundamental error. If the foundation be faulty, then the building erected upon it cannot be sound. And if we err in our conceptions of this basic truth, then in just proportion, so will our grasp of all other truth be inaccurate. This classic text on the subject of election or predestination to eternal life is essential for any Christian's library, but especially that of the pastor or clergyman." So I've really been into the different books by A.W. Pink. He has a ton on Audible, and a lot of them are like free for you to download if you're an Audible Plus membership, which is, I think, if you just have an Audible account and you pay for 1 credit a month or something like that, then you have access to the Audible Plus, and there are tons and tons and tons of his books on there. So one of the other ones that I want to read that I don't have on my list, but it's like one of those ones that I plan on listening to, is called The Sovereignty of God. So I think that one will be really good also. He has tons of them, and I've heard nothing but really good things. I listened to one a while ago, but I can't remember which one it was. I wish I could. So the next book that I have is from A.W. Tozer. So when you're looking for the books, there's A.W. Pink and A.W. Tozer, and both of them have lots of really good books, lots of really good Christian books, and many of them are available in that Plus catalog for free. So let me show you guys what it just looks like this. So it just looks like this on Audible. Okay, so I had to go to the Amazon page for this book because the summary on Amazon the summary on Audible didn't really say much. So in the description for this book on Amazon, it says, "To have found God and still to pursue Him is a paradox of love, scorned indeed by the too easily satisfied religious person, but justified in happy experience by the children of the burning heart. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux stated this holy paradox in a musical 4-line poem that will be instantly understood by every worshiping soul. We taste thee, O thou living bread, and long to feast upon thee still. We drink of thee, the fountainhead, and thirst our souls from thee to feel. Come near to the holy men and women of the past, and you will soon feel the heat of the desire after God. Let A.W. Tozer's pursuit of God spur you also into a genuine hunger and thirst to truly know God. So that is the pursuit of God. And there is a bit like, I have these on Audible like I already mentioned, but they are also available on Amazon for pretty inexpensively. So the last two that I have on Audible are books that I've had on here for a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. So I really want to get these to listen to, read. And so the next one that I have is Love Thy Body by Nancy Piercy. And it's answering hard questions about life and sexuality. And then the summary on Audible says, are transgender people discovering their authentic self? Is the hookup culture really liberating? Does abortion lead to equality for women? Does homosexuality contradict our biological sex? In Love Thy Body, best-selling and award-winning author Nancy Piercy takes on the hard questions about life and sexuality. She offers a respectful but riveting expose of the secular worldview that lies behind trendy slogans and political talking points. A former agnostic, Piercy is a sensitive guide to the secular ideas that shape current debates. She empowers listeners to intelligently and compassionately engage today's most controversial moral and social challenges. In a surprise shattering of stereotypes, Piercy demonstrates that while secularism promises much, in reality it delivers little. She turns the tables on stereotypes that portray Christianity as harsh and bigoted and invites a fresh look at its holistic, life-affirming principles. It is a worldview that matches the world and fits with human experience. All along, Piercy keeps listeners entranced with gripping stories of real people wrestling with hard questions in their own lives, sharing their pain, their struggles, and their triumphs. And last but not least, I have on my Audible, No Greater Love. And this is another book by A.W. Tozer. It says, No Greater Love, Experiencing the Heart of Jesus Through the Gospel of John. So the summary says, God came in the flesh to show us what love looks like. To truly see the dynamics of this love, we must take a close look at Jesus' relationships while he was here on earth. How he loved then is how he loves now, and how he loves now is how we as believers are to love. No Greater Love is a study of Jesus' interactions with people throughout the book of John, including Nicodemus, the woman at the well, and even the Pharisees. What did this love look like in action, especially with those who are hard to love? As it turns out, he didn't love people because they deserved it. He loved them because he is love. With the great tragedies in our culture today, there is a need for the Jesus love that's available to all believers. May this book help you better know his love for you, which in the end will lead you to becoming more like him. And so that is No Greater Love. As you can see in this 10 books, and I've mentioned this in other videos where I talk about books on my list or books that I'm reading, I love to read nonfiction books. I'm not the type of reader that I'm not a fiction reader. I don't enjoy reading fantasy books or mystery or romance or any of that other stuff. I really, really enjoy fiction. Which is kind of like just how my brain works. I am an analyst at heart. That's what I did. I was a form of an analyst in the Air Force. And then I also went to school, and the jobs I did as far as working with kids with autism was very analytical as well. So my brain just likes books that are real. I really like to read theology books. I love to read political books. I love to read biographies. And so those are the things that and parenting books, like self-help books. Anything that can help me in my walk with God, anything that can help me as a mother, a parent, or anything that can guide me in parenting. Those are the kinds of books that I usually like to read. I also like to read things that are political. I know that's not a lot of people's forte when it comes to reading books, but it's something that I enjoy. So if these books are something that sound like a book that you would want to read, you should totally go ahead and grab some of these books and let me know what you think. I have a little bonus. I got a new devotional. It's a 365 devotional for this year, and this is 1 Minute Devotions Morning by Morning by Charles Spurgeon. So that's this here. I don't usually do these kinds of devotionals. My kids have these like morning minute devotionals, and so I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and get myself one. It's really nice that the very first thing that I'm putting my eyes on in the morning is like a scripture or something that is going to just bring me closer to God. So even though every single one of these starts off with a verse from the Bible and then his commentary, so this is really quick and easy, and I've always wanted to be one of those people that the first thing I do when I wake up is I pray and I read the Bible, and that's not the case for me usually, but this has been really helpful, at least in the last week or so that I've been doing it, because we're only a week into January at this point. But it's been really nice to this is the very first thing that I grab in the mornings right now, because it's not daunting or overwhelming or anything like that. It's just one page, one verse, one small portion of commentary, and I'm really liking this so far. The other thing is I have a video all about reading the Bible in the year that I can link for you guys here. I started a plan for reading the Bible in the year last year. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it as we got closer to end of the year. And things got chaotic. I just kind of fell off. So I'm starting all over from the beginning again. So one of the things that I'm going to be reading every single day is parts of, is going to be scripture in the Bible, depending on where I'm at in my plan. I'm doing the same exact plan using all the same exact tools that I had last year. So if you're interested in seeing what that is, you can find, I linked the video and you can find it down in the description as well. So that is all that I have to share with you guys. I would love to know down in the comments, what are some books that you are reading this year? What is something that you're currently reading or you're looking forward to reading? What are some suggestions that you have for me after seeing some of the books here that I have? One type of like fiction book that I do enjoy is conspiracy theory type books. And I've mentioned that before. I really enjoyed Brave New World, which I read last year, and 1984 and Animal Farm. I read 1984. I can't remember if I read it last year or the year before, but I for sure read Animal Farm last year and Brave New World last year. So I really enjoyed those books. So if you have other recommendations of books that are similar to those, let me know those in the comments, or anything that you think that I would be interested in that you've already read. Let me know some of those. I would love to see your guys' suggestions and maybe pick some of those up for when I'm done with my must finish 10 books. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, please go ahead and hit the like. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit subscribe. I would love to have you here as a part of my community, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!